You can find them on Twitter, you can find them on the gram. After listening to their podcast, you'll be sitting there like, damn, taking their teaching from one level to the next, reaching up to Canada and down to Mexico.
I sat in on David Kelly's undergraduate product design classes.
Go.
And the rest is history. I visited IDEO, didn't sleep for like 2 days. And I think I mentioned to you guys, it was these places where everything was designed for people to be successful and to do well. Whereas I felt like there's so much, I won't say everything, but so much within the public school system, or even like I can speak for my district I was in for 19 years. So many things were set up for not just kids to fail, but teachers.
Right.
And design, and whether it was intentional or not. So part of design is being intentional. I think a lot of the stuff with schools setting kids up to fail, it's not intentionally designed that way, but there's no awareness of how, you almost need to break it down and intentionally redesign it to make it,
right.
Equitable and designed for kids, all kids, to be successful, and teachers.
Well, we just released an episode on Monday with Marissa Thompson from San Diego, and she said her school, one of the things they came out with at the beginning of the pandemic was their grading system was going to be a do no harm grading system. And she said, so that means our original system was harmful. She said, that's a problem.
That's interesting. And I don't know if you saw, I just posted on social media. I was in a webinar the other day.
Well, you tagged me.
Yeah, that one that's so weird because I didn't even know about that, because it was about how we need to redesign.
That's why I said we need to do another episode, maybe with you, Marissa. And honestly, you know who would fit in with that? I don't know if you follow Ira Sokol.
I don't think I have to.
Ira Sokol is from Virginia. He wrote, was it Time?
I have the one article. That's crazy that you brought him up, because I just brought the article out about special ed, right? And reading.
Right. Well, he did. He wrote a book about he's dyslexic, grew up in New York City, but it was like a fictional story, but it's about him, and it's called The Drool Room, about the special ed classroom. That's what they used to call his classroom. Was the drool room.
When he said that, I didn't think I heard it correctly.
Right.
And I asked him again. He's like, yeah, the drool room.
Well, this guy who his name was Cornelius. He had the coolest name. I can't think of his last name now. Cornelius somebody.
Is it the Imagineering?
No, so that's a whole other guy you guys definitely need to connect with. Are you Star Wars people?
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Is he Star Wars in the classroom? Do you guys follow Star Wars in the classroom? So that's
I don't, but I just started doing that now.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, so that's Thomas. He's written Thomas Riddle. This whole thing is me just shouting out to all the amazing people. He does all this curriculum around Star Wars, but he also did he created a ton of stuff, even through, I think it was through Lucas people, all these curriculum.
Yeah, he did an Indiana Jones thing.
Indiana Jones, yeah, around all these young indie things that I don't even know if they ever got released.
Yeah,
and
very
now
cool.
He works at this place called Roper Mountain, where they create like real life learning experiences, like as Indy traveling around this science museum place.
That's awesome.
Oh, cool.
He's one of the original DTK12 chat family.
Cool.
But so this was actually a webinar on anti-racism in schools, and I'm trying to see if I can. His name is Cornelius Minor. Cornelius Minor. He has a book. I need to check out his book. But so you think about that. We're talking about like whether it's equity, race issues, or like gender issues, or like you said, special ed, like all the harm that's done in those.
Yeah.
If you aren't the it's not. It's basically designed for like one certain kind of kid maybe to be successful, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's
crazy. So we'll have to do some other episode, maybe even like a.
Yeah, we should do a roundtable discussion.
That's what I was going to say, like a
panel,
big chat, a panel discussion or something.
Well, and thinking about that too, it's a lot of, because I was thinking, so we're going to start our DTK12 chat season.
Yep.
And those are great opportunities, seeing those areas where like rituals and traditions and things that we do are great opportunities to redesign. Right. So how, when we see those things, like even, traditional ways of lining kids up is not very like fair to right? Like all the gender.
You have to connect with Ira because, I mean, you're saying that he always talks about, what is it, Joe? Where's the one place where they have kids walk in a quiet, or people walk in a quiet straight line? Prison. That's where they, like.
Well, and
same. His name is Ira.
Ira Sokol. Yeah. So he was a New York City police officer.
I'm like, Ira must be Jewish. He must be one of my people.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't say that. That's not, but Ira sounds nice.
He changed, I mean, from Bath. I came back from listening to him, and I came in the next day, and the kid was like, oh, don't we do bathroom breaks at 10? I said, oh, no. You know what, guys? You need to go to the bathroom? Go to the bathroom.
Right.
I said, because he said same thing. Right?
Well,
like, when do they tell you to go to the bathroom? When do they tell you to walk in a straight line? Now, but in an elementary school, there does have to be, I think, some order in the hallway.
Of course.
So.
But that's what's so fun is if you like turn that on with the kids and like help them, like, how do we reimagine this? Like we just completely blow it up, right? Like we have lines, but there's probably plenty of others. Like you could move in like some kind of like amoeba shape. I don't know. Like there's all different ways to create order, right? Or
we saw it. Chaos. When our kids, and Ron can attest to this, in the mornings, there's times when they're flying down the hall and it's a hot mess. And I talk to my class and we say just that, like, what's wrong with that? Why is that a problem? What can you do? You're right. You could just walk in. You could be like, hey, well, eventually, Ron, how long were you saying we should put stuff on the walls? The tactile stuff.
Right. Yep.
And now all of a sudden, I'm not saying it stopped everyone, but a large portion of kids are now not flying down the hall and are actually like waiting to see like what's coming up because now there's a line. And does it pop things up a little bit and push things back with kids getting to homeroom? Definitely, because now they're waiting in line, waiting to do this and, hop down the feet and everything.
Right.
But maybe about 20 or some odd kids are now not running down the hall.
Right. It's
something to do.
And it's another learning experience, right? Like, that's like that video with the people with the stairwell and the piano, right? Like those, you walk on the stairs and they make the keys. And And part of that was like, well, what was that reframe around? It was like, how do we get people to be more active? Well, there's all kinds of ways, but if you put musical notes on a staircase, people are going to be more likely to take the stairs than the
elevator.
Right. Yeah,
there was there's a road in Scotland, I believe it is, where they have bumps on the road, like just little ridges. And if you ride over them at the correct speed, it actually plays a melody.
Right. See, isn't that so cool?
It's amazing.
Well, it's like instead of designing for catching people doing the wrong thing and punishing them, it's
give
like
them a reason.
Joy out of doing, which when you really start looking at that, like when you start thinking about schools, and if you could, all the spaces that you could do, it's kind of like designing for joy. And I think those things have to be mixed up.
Thanks for listening to the Teacher Nerds podcast. Keep up with every new episode by subscribing on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, Anchor, or anywhere you listen. Remember to visit teachernerds.com, and that's nerds with a Z. Follow us on Twitter @TeacherNerds and on Instagram @TeacherNerdsPodcast. And thank you for being one of the Teacher Nerds.